Namaste students. Today we are going to start with our next chapter of class 12, that is vector algebra. I would say interesting and easy chapter. Alright, and useful in your studies of physics and in many branches of mathematics. Alright, so vector algebra, if you remember, if I talk about a line segments, first of all, let's pick up some basic concepts of it. If I talk about a line, now this is line. Alright, if I say this line, it can be in any direction, which I represent by an arrowhead, if you remember. Alright, so if I say this, the line is going from this direction to this direction, or I say this is a line which is going in this direction. This is called directed line. This is called directed line. Alright, directed line which has some direction. Alright, now we did line segment also. When does a line becomes a line segment? When I have a fixed starting and an ending point. Line means endless. Either it's going this way or it's going this way. It's an endless process. Line segment means it has a starting point, it has an ending point. So this is AB. If I talk about, this is directed line segment. That means it has a direction as well as it is a segment. I know it is starting from A and B. A line which has a direction, and a magnitude means it. I know this much, AB is called a vector. A line segment which has direction as well as the magnitude, that is called a vector. Is it clear? That is called a vector. So write the definition. So directed line is called a vector. Directed line is a simple, but if it becomes a directed line, that becomes a vector. So I say, what is a vector? A quantity which has direction and magnitude is called vector. Is it clear? It's called vector. For example, when I was talking about this, it's suppose starting from A till B and from A to B. So what do I say? I say it is A to B, from A to B. So we represent a vector or a directed line by an arrow. We represent a vector or a directed line by an arrow. Is it clear? AB this. Or if I represent it by, इसका length is represented by A. मान लिया A से B तक का length कितना है? A units. So it can be written as A. Is it clear? The vector can be represented by AB vector, or if you gave some name to it, so it can be written as A vector. Now what is this A and B called? What are this A and B called? A is called initial point, and B is called terminal point. Initial point and terminal point. A, it is starting from A, so it is called initial point. B, it is finishing at B, so this is called terminal point. And the distance between A and B. Is called magnitude or length of vector AB. When I say length of vector AB, तो ये arrow का मतलब ही है vector, तो आगे specially vector लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है. Length of vector AB, and we denote it by, and it is denoted by you remember, this is nothing new, children. We know that when we were doing distance formula in class 10th also we did it. We used to represent by the modulus. Because it is a length, it is a distance, it cannot be negative also. Is it clear? Or if I am representing it by a vector, so it can be clear to everyone? Alright, fine. So, length is never negative. So, that means we know that this is always. Have you say length cannot be equals to 0? It can be equals to 0. We will do when types of vectors, no? There it will come 0 vector, which starts wherever it starts, it ends also there. तो कोई distance ही नहीं हुआ, कुछ length ही नहीं हुई, तो इसलिए 0 भी हो सकता है. Is this clear to everyone? Alright. So what is a vector? A quantity which has a direction and magnitude is called a vector. That means a directed line is called a vector. It is from A to B, represented by AB vector, or we say A vector. This is called initial point, this is called terminal point. Distance between initial and terminal point is called the magnitude of the vector, and it is represented by the straight brackets, you say modulus of vector AB. Understood? I hope it's clear to everyone. Now very, very important, position vector. Position vector. Now recall your three-dimensional right-handed rectangular coordinates of class 11. Position vector. Okay. If I talk about position vector, say I take, because we will be dealing in three-dimensional geometry only. Alright, consider a point P in this space. Consider a point P in a space with the coordinates x, y, z, and the origin is 0, 0. OP is called position vector of point P with respect to origin. Is it clear? With respect to origin. We call position vector, OP is called position vector of point P with respect to origin. That means origin should be initial point, and P is terminal point. See, whenever I find out a position vector, my base initial point has to be origin. Is it clear? Then this OP is called position vector of P. Position vector of P. Now, if I need to find out the magnitude of it, if I need to find out the magnitude, what did I say? Magnitude is what? It's a distance between initial point and terminal point. It is a distance between initial point and terminal point. I have a terminal point, I have an initial point. Distance formula, simple. We have done in 3D also distance formula. How do you find? x2 minus x1 whole square, y2 minus y1 whole square, z2 minus z1 whole square. Understood? z1 minus z2 whole square. So how do we find the magnitude? So magnitude R is, magnitude of this OP is under the root x square plus y square plus z square. Is this clear? Alright. So now this is one point. In general, how do we write? In general, position vectors of points A, B and C C vector respectively. Is it clear? हम पोजीशन वेक्टर्स को ऐसे रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं. पोजीशन वेक्टर मीन्स initial point is origin and this. आगे we will derive a formula also. Find how to find a position vector. So position vector of P, it is OP. अगर ABC कोई points है तो उनके position vector normally be denoted by A vector, B vector and C vector. Clear? Alright, clear to everyone? See, before we start with the types of vector, one basic concept we want to, or let's do the types of vector first of all. Then I'll explain you one basic concept. Alright. Types of vectors. The next topic is types of vectors. The first, zero vector, or we say a null vector. Zero vector or null vector. What is zero vector or null vector? A vector whose initial and terminal points coincide. Whose initial and terminal points coincides are called zero or null vectors. That means initial point भी वही है जो कि terminal point है. So normally we write the vectors like this. Or what will be the magnitude of zero vector? कोई distance ही नहीं. So it's going to be 0. So what is zero vector? Zero vector means whose initial and terminal points coincide are called zero vectors. So number 2 is co-initial vectors. By name only it is clear. What is my co-initial vectors? नाम से क्या clear नजर आ रहा है? The vectors which has same initial point. Which have same initial point is called co-initial vectors. What? Is it clear? Co-initial vectors, the vectors which have same initial point are called co-initial vectors. उनका starting point, उनका initial point same होना चाहिए. Then we say these are co-initial points. Vectors, sorry. Then we have unit vector. नाम से clear नजर आ रहा है? What is unit vector? A vector whose magnitude is unit 1 is called unit vector. Is called unit vector. And the unit vector of say vector A is denoted by A cap. Unit vectors की अलग representation होती है, that is A cap. Is it clear? If there is a vector A, so its corresponding unit vector is denoted by A cap. And what are the unit vectors? A vector whose magnitude is 1 is called unit vector. A vector whose magnitude is 1 is called unit vector. Clear? Alright. The fourth is collinear vectors. Collinear vectors. Collinear vectors. What does collinear vector means? Two or more vectors are said to be collinear if they are parallel to the same line irrespective of their magnitude and directions. Two or more vectors are said to be collinear if they are parallel to same line irrespective of their directions and magnitude. See, you can correlate everything with two-dimensional also, you know. Condition of parallel lines and collinear points were same. The slopes should be equal. याद है? उसमें एक common point आ जाता है. So collinear vectors means vectors which are parallel to same line irrespective of direction. Suppose line इधर जा रही है. This is my line. So this is my AB vector. A vector. It's going this way. That's okay. Doesn't matter. Fine. There's another B vector, which is parallel to this only, but the direction is this way. So these are collinear vector, which is parallel to same line, alright, irrespective of their magnitude and direction. Suppose this goes from here to here, and the length of this one is a little smaller. Clear? So irrespective of direction and magnitude, but it should be parallel to same line. Clear? Next we have equal vectors. Equal vectors. क्या होगा equal vectors? क्या नाम से समझ आ रहा है? Equal vectors. Two vectors are said to be equal if their magnitude and direction is same regardless the initial point. कहीं से start हो रहे हैं उससे हमें कोई मतलब नहीं है. Regardless of position of the initial points. Is this clear? Regardless the position of the initial points. Their initial points. कहाँ से start हो गया? I am not bothered. Fine. If suppose this is vector which is from here to here. Alright. दूसरे वेक्टर की कहीं पर भी है, डायरेक्शन भी सेम होनी चाहिए. This vector is also going this way, and the magnitude should also be equal. Then the vector A is said to be equals to vector B. Vector A is said to be equals to vector B. What should be equal? Their magnitude as well as directions should be equal regardless of the initial point. कोई यहाँ इनिशिएट कर रहा है, कोई यहाँ से इनिशियल पॉइंट है, यहाँ जरूरी नहीं है, यहाँ भी हो सकता है. Is it clear? Then these vectors are said to be equal vectors. Now we have negative vector. Last in this is negative of a vector. What is the negative of the vector? क्या नाम से समझ आ रहा है? A vector whose magnitude is same as that of a given vector, but direction is opposite. Direction is opposite. Is it clear? A vector, जैसे if I say 4 का negative -4, magnitude तो same है ना, 4 4, एक 0 के राइट हैंड साइड में जाता है, एक 0 के लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में जाता है. इसका मतलब सिर्फ उनकी डायरेक्शंस डिफरेंट है, मैग्नीट्यूड इज सेम. इज इट क्लियर? अ वेक्टर with same magnitude but with opposite direction is said to be negative of a vector. Clear? AB, same vector, but the direction is reverse. Magnitude is same, but direction is opposite. So what is the relation? BA vector is minus of AB vector. BA vector is minus of AB vector. Is it clear? BA vector is minus of AB vector. Is this clear to everyone? Alright. So what did we do? Zero vector, the vector whose initial and terminal points are same. Unit vector whose magnitude is 1. Co-initial vectors whose initial points are same. Collinear vectors which are parallel to same straight line. Is it clear? Then we did equal vector whose magnitude and the direction should be same irrespective of the initial point. कहीं से भी start हो. And then we did negative of a vector where we say that the vectors same in magnitude but opposite in direction. Just few examples just to make the vector clear. You know that now. I hope it's clear to everyone. What is a vector? A quantity which has direction as well as magnitude both is called vector. Otherwise it is a scalar quantity. Clear? So now the first it is said represent graphically a displacement. You all know what is displacement. What is the difference between distance and a displacement? Displacement means with direction. Is it clear? Displacement of 40 kilometers 30 degree west of south. I have to draw it. This is north, this is east, and this is west. I want which side? East and west, is it correct? Correct? No. I know that east is this side and the west is this side. Directions are very important. You know, now this is draw 40 kilometers 30 degree west of south. South say 30 degree this side. South say 30 degrees that side. So I have to measure this angle 30 degree. You don't have to actually measure it because you're not doing construction. We just have to represent it. Alright. And where should I go? 40 kilometers. Suppose the 40 kilometer gets over here. Which direction I am going? This direction. Is it clear? Alright, O to A. So this is how I represent graphically the displacement of 40 kilometers 30 degree west of south. West of south. Alright, now I need to tell these quantities whether they are scalar quantities and vectors. So again a definition. Vector means which has magnitude as well as direction. And scalar quantity means which has only magnitude, no direction. If I talk about 5 seconds, time, it's a scalar quantity. Volume, again a scalar quantity. 10 Newton, what is that? It's a force. So force is always in some direction. Unnecessarily you can't apply a force. ठीक है, आप किसी चीज को धक्का लगा रहे हो, so some direction. So it is vector. 30 km per hour. What is it? It is speed. What is speed? Speed is a scalar quantity. Is it clear? What is 10 gram per cubic centimeter? Density. What is density? That's also Scalar 20 meter per second, though it is a speed, but now what is given to me? Towards north. So direction is also given to me. See, this is also speed, but this was scalar because no direction. This is कार की स्पीड इतनी है, अब किस डायरेक्शन में कहाँ जा रही है पता तो होना चाहिए ना फॉर वेक्टर. So fine. So 20 meter per second towards north is a vector quantity. Now in this they are asking me which are equal vectors, which are collinear vectors, and which are co-initial vectors. Equal vectors, same direction and magnitude, same direction and magnitude. अब equal तो लेंथ वाइज ये दोनों भी है लेकिन सेम डायरेक्शन नहीं है. One is going towards this, one is going downwards. Now collinear, collinear vector means they should, whatever the direction is, it's okay, they should be parallel to a same line. So if I draw a line here, this, and this, irrespective of direction and magnitude. So A, C and D are collinear vectors. Co-initial means which start from same initial point, means the initial point is same, they start from same point. So this one, clear? Don't say A and D also. B का starting point ये है, A का ये है, so they are not co-initial. Alright, these were some basic examples of vectors. I hope it's clear to everyone. Alright, so it's clear what is vector, a quantity which has magnitude and direction. Types of vector, position vector of a vector, position vector we have done. Is it clear? And then few basic examples. Now the actual chapter will start because basics are very important first of all. Now we'll start addition of vectors, subtraction, dot product, cross product. There are so many things to come up. But very interesting chapter once again I'm telling you. Clear? Alright.